this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. I just thought I'd let you know, I don't know how close I can focus because it's early in the day, but I stripped away the old parts of where the older leaf sort of sheaths were, and there's quite a large chunk of black rot at the base of the plant. So that's the reason for its demise. That explains why it's still got a very good root system, but the plant's going down. The base of that plant's got some rot in it, so that's taken out the stem basically. So it wouldn't have been worth trying to save it, no point at all. You know, sometimes you have to look a bit harder to find problems, and they're often covered up, but in underneath the older parts there is quite a bit of rot. So it wouldn't have made it one way or the other. So yeah, under the hedge for you. The one good thing is I've got a well-fed hedge. Actually, that's not true. I haven't thrown out that many this year. As I go round with these, I've just sort of decided this idea of filming the orchids like a shelf at a time as I'm watering will effectively be like a mid-season update, a look at the plants. You know, we're always looking at the blooms, but very rarely spend any time looking and chatting about the actual plants and how the plants are doing, and you know, thoughts for their progress and things like that. So I'm going to carry on doing that over the next couple of weeks, and the more eagle-eyed of you will spot those missing. I mean, two that have succumbed were both of my brassavolas. They've gone, so the Nodosa and the David Sanders, I've dumped both of those. That frees up 2 holy clay pots. Always look on the bright side. And there's a couple of others, and there's a few others out there that I've got a close eye on, but there is a difference. Whereas this could be easily replaced should I choose to do so, I've got some out there that are struggling that would be impossible to replace. Now those I'm quite happy to put some effort in, because really the effort isn't that great, is it? I mean, they just get watered the same as the other orchids, and they either start growing again or they don't. There's not a lot else you can do. I'm not fussing, you know, I'm not starting to take plants out of their pot and give them special treatment and all that sort of stuff. They've either got to make it on their own terms, or they don't make it. You know, I haven't got time to fuss around with individual plants, but I've got certainly some of my older odontoglossum type plants are not doing that well. They don't like the heat, it's as simple as that. And although I've got them on the floor, and you know, they get a reasonable sort of airflow when the inlet fan's on, but unfortunately at the moment with the temperatures outside, the air being brought in it's nearly the same temperature as the air that's going out at the top. So it's a losing battle during this heat, and unfortunately there's no sign of an end to it. The 5-day forecast that I listened to yesterday evening on a TV programme that I like to watch, Country File, it's just more of the same on the south coast. If you're in the east of the country, you may get some heavy downpours. And if you're in the north heading downwards towards the Midlands and across to Ireland and some of Wales, you're going to get rain. But where I am, there's no sign of any. So unless we get one of those sudden thunderstorms that build up, which given the the humidity in the air is now going to go up as well, because the change of direction has happened. So instead of coming in off the Atlantic, it's coming up from sort of Mediterranean areas, so it's not only going to be hot, it's going to be humid as well. So that's nice and comfortable to try and sleep at night. Anyway, so I'm going to carry on with this couple of shelves at a time idea, on the grounds that it turns out to be a mid-season update, although that wasn't the plan. So every time I water, I'll think about what I've already filmed, and what I haven't filmed I'll sort of pull in by starting watering at the place I sort of left off last time, and then come back round. So I'll sort of change my sequence a bit. But yeah, that one was not going to make it. That stem's gone, so that's the end of you. But should I choose to do so, easily replaced. I don't have many Phalaenopsis, and that's by choice. I mean, quite honestly, I could go out with £50 and come back with probably, you know, maybe even a dozen orchids. But I haven't got the room for these, certainly the larger Phalaenopsis. You know, I mean, if you imagine that leaf out the other side as well, you know, it's a large plant. It's linear. It's not, you know, it doesn't take up this sort of space or vertical space, which is okay. It takes up width, which means it needs more room wherever it lives. One of my mounted Phalaenopsis got dumped. Same reason. Yeah, same reason. So that's gone. What else has gone out lately? None of the Cattleyas, they're all okay. My cooler growers, you know, in the Masdevallias and Miltoniopsis, all that sort of thing, they're hanging in there. There's no failures in amongst them. There's some pretty poor looking objects in there, but they're not failures. They're still hanging on. Well, that's about it. I haven't lost a dendrobium or any of the oddities like epidendrums, encyclias, various other things I've got dotted around. They're all sort of doing okay. I think the rescue plants I've got are mainly in the Oncidium alliance, and they tend to be Nellie Isla's not looking too good, but that really just is struggling like hell with this heat. That's a nice cool grower. You've got cool conditions, they grow like a weed. And it's mainly the ones that contain a larger amount of the older Odontoglossum type plants. They're the ones that are suffering in this. I mean, there are some cool growing dendrobiums amongst mine, but they still don't seem to suffer in the heat. They probably slow down a little bit, but they're not stopping growing. You know, new growths are still pushing on. So things in the main are doing okay, but to make it okay, I'm having to work a lot harder, and it's becoming a chore. And I don't know how long it's going to go on for, but there will be an end. This is the UK after all. I mean, last summer I was moaning almost, well, many days. I would get up in the morning, go out in the grow room, and oh yeah, another dull, miserable day. It's raining again. So, you know, you have to take the good with the bad. And I mean, the kids are on holiday now, so they're going to love getting out in the sunshine and playing and going down to the beach and, you know, all that sort of stuff. So it's got upsides, but you can have sunny weather without the heat. It's the heat that's doing people in. You know, they're threatening sort of, well, 32, 33 degrees during this week. And that, for people in the UK that are not used to it, that's pushing it. You know, sort of people that got breathing troubles or, you know, anything. If you're not in really good health, the heat can really drive you downhill. It's debilitating, shall we say. I mean, I'm okay with the heat. Don't get me wrong. I'm fine with it. But the workload with the orchids is really heavy at the moment. Seems that I'm watering a substantial amount every single day. I mean, I've got to do the mounts, but they're off to a sort of polished art. You know, I can whiz round those really fast. It's a well-ordered machine. You know, I water them in a certain order. They get hung in the same place to drip before they get put back up, and I do so many, walk away, let them drip, come back, put those back up where they go, move to the next section and get those going until I've finished. And all the while, the ones that go in the bucket are getting dunked and they're getting hung up to drip before they go back. So, you know, the actual time it takes me is probably only about 15-20 minutes. I mean, it takes an hour, but that's because of the gaps, you know, to allow things to just drain off a little bit before they go back up on their hooks or racks. So that's not too bad. But the frequency watering the pots is coming round so fast now. I mean, I watered all the pots yesterday except for those cooler growers, the ones that must stay moist. And on my normal schedule, I'd have a day off today apart from the mounts, but I'm going to have to go back round those today because they're drying so fast. You know, the transpiration in the plants is accelerated in this heat. The moisture's pushing up through the plants and out through the leaves much faster than normal. So it's got to be replaced at the roots. And also in this heat, those little fine roots on Restrepias and stuff, if they dry out in this heat, they'll probably die. So I've got to keep on top of it. And it's a chore at the moment, but it won't last forever. Anyway, under the hedge for you, I've got a well-fed hedge. See you next time. I just thought I'd tag this on the end. My Miltonia Queen Anne is getting its colour on the buds. This will be its first time it's bloomed, and I was expecting it to be a purple colour. Well, looking at the colour of the bud, it is going to be purple. I think it's got a yellow centre, so a deep purple with a yellow centre is going to be quite a looker, I would say. It's going to be several buds on this spike, and there's another spike up here too, so it's got 2 spikes on. So as a first time bloomer, that'll be nice to see. And I've had quite a few people every now and again ask about what's happening with my car. Now, those of you who are relatively new don't know the car saga. But I've made a decision on it. I like my car so much that despite its troubles, I'm prepared to give it a go. Now, it's got an ECU problem. There's a component or components or something's gone wrong in the ECU, which means if it's not warm, the car won't start. The ECU just says, nope, I'm not starting the car, there's something wrong. It won't tell me what, but it's had the best computer diagnostics you can imagine, and it says there's nothing wrong, and then it won't start. But in this weather, it is starting. So at the moment, I'm enjoying driving my car, as I do. But we had a little bit of a problem because I had to go out a little bit earlier in the day, and the ECU under the bonnet wasn't warm enough to start the car, so it failed. So I opened the bonnet to get some sun on it, which that does the trick. You should just warm it up a little bit. And yes, the car started okay. So, you know, shut the bonnet and away I went. And then I thought, I'm going to get another ECU for this car. You can't get a new one. There's no such thing. So it can only come out of a used car. But I found one on eBay and chatted to the guy selling it, and made it very clear that I wanted him emphatically to state that the ECU came out of a car that, as far as the electrical system was concerned, was working perfectly. In other words, you know, it had had an accident or something that bashed the back end in or something and didn't get anywhere near the sort of electrical system. And he said, yes, this came out of a scrap car due to accident damage. Nothing wrong with the car at the time. So I've bought it. It hasn't arrived yet. But as I went to buy it, I thought I'd better double check the part number. So I went out to open the bonnet, and the handle that releases the bonnet effectively came off in my hand. So I now can't get the bonnet open. Now that's not funny, because if I need to start the car on a cold morning, like early in the day or something, I literally have to get a hairdryer on that ECU to warm it up a bit to get it to start at the moment. And if I can't open the bonnet, then I can't get at it. You know, and things like topping up the washer fluid, you've got to be able to open your bonnet. So as I had the car running anyway, I went down the garage and had a chat and told him what happened, which he thought was highly amusing. And he said it's not that uncommon, because most bonnet releases are a cable, and you know, they can break, or they can come detached. There's all sorts of things can go wrong. And I said, so what do you do? How do you get the bonnet open? So we have to strip the front of the car off and get a crowbar out. I thought, oh, that sounds a bit dramatic. He said, don't worry about it, it's only about an hour's work, it's not a big deal, you know, it happens, and it's not as infrequent as you might imagine, especially on older cars. You know, the cables just, you know, they can rust and things like that. So anyway, so he said, bring it on down and you know, we'll get it fixed for you, get the bonnet sorted. And I told him that I'd got an ECU coming, and he said, well, if you bring that down at the same time, we'll get that fitted and reprogrammed and get everything up and running with any luck. Which sounds like a good idea, except for the lazy tyke that I bought it off. I bought it on Friday, and he's still yet to post it. Hopefully it'll get in the post today. But that's a nuisance because this weekend I must have the car. I've got to go up and fetch my daughter, and we've got our Orchid Society garden party on the Sunday. I have to have the car running this weekend. So I think I'll have to go down and get the bonnet fixed as a separate thing. Because if I wait until the ECU arrives and it's later in the week, they might not be able to get it done by the weekend. So yeah, so a little update on the car saga, but this is the last effort to fix the car up and keep it. And if this doesn't work, then I will change cars and get rid of this one. The problem being, I will get next to nothing for it, you know. So I'm going to write off an awful lot of money to get rid of it, you know, by not getting its true value. Then I have to buy something else, so quite a bit of an expense there. That's the idea of putting a little bit more money back into the car to see if I can get it up and running again. It's a much cheaper option, and I get to keep a car I really like. Although this problem has caused a bit of an inconvenience, shall we say, and that's the polite version. Anyway, quick update on the car. See you next time.